Hello and good morning. My name is Atla Alessandro, and for today I'll be presenting the introduction part for our project. So first, let's go through to the erosion and sediment control, which is the key environmental challenge in Malaysia construction sector. As Malaysia grow rapidly, as we know, construction activity like clearing and slope cutting have been increased. This work often leave soil exposed, especially in hilly areas and like Klang Valley, Penang and Johor Bahru. In our tropical climate with frequent heavy rain, this will expose soil highly and prone to erosion. Next, the key concerns. Erosion happen when rainfall dislodge unprotected soil. The soil is carried away by runoff and eventually settle in rivers, lakes, drain or reservoirs. This process called sedimentation. Sedimentation causes several problems, which is it will pollute water and cause blocked drainage system, which is leading to flash flood and reduced reservoir capacity. It also harms aquatic life due to pollution like organic waste, nutrient, and even heavy metal travels with the soil. And we go to environmental and legal process response. To address this, the Environmental Quality Act 1974 require Major Protect to submit Environmental Impact Assessment (EIA), which include erosion and sediment control plan (ECSP) to reduce soil loss and manage runoff. Malaysia also introduced technical documents such as 2010 guideline for the erosion and sediment control and the MASMA manual. This guide will develop the use best practice to install such as sill fans, sediment basins, check dams and applying turfing or hydroseeding. Some developer even schedule work during dry season to reduce erosion risk. What is the challenge? The challenge is, however, despite these tools that I explained, weak enforcement remain a major issue. Some contractors neglect or poorly implement control measure, leading to repeat problem like flash flood, muddy rivers, and public complaints. Go to the next part, which is importance of controlling erosion and sediment. Why it matters? Controlling erosion and sediment is especially important in Malaysia due to our frequent and intense rainfall. When construction sites are cleared or excavated, the exposed soil become highly vulnerable to being washed away by stormwater. If not managed properly, the soil will end up in nearby river, lakes or drain, which lead to sedimentation and environmental problems. And it also causes environmental impact. Sedimentation doesn't just make the water cloudy, it disrupts aquatic life. When too much sediment enters a river or lake, it blocks sunlight, lower oxygen level, and can even bury fish spawning grounds. This affects our biodiversity and overall ecosystem health. Plus, the sediment often carries pollutants like oil, nutrients, and heavy metal that further degrades our water quality. It's also cause infrastructure and safety risks. There are real risks to infrastructure and human safety. When drains are filled with sediment, it increases the chance of flash floods, especially during heavy rains. As such itself, uncontrolled erosion can destabilize slope and weaken foundation, making the work site dangerous and delaying the project completion. So, let's move on to the next part is our objective of this project. First, we want to identify the primary causes of erosion and sedimentation occurring at construction sites in Malaysia. Second, we want to examine both temporary and permanent erosion and sediment control measures currently implemented in construction industry And for the third one, we want to recommend best management practice that support sustainable and effective erosion and sediment control in compliance with Malaysia environmental guidelines.
Hello, Doctor. This part is a literature review. Understanding erosion and sediment risks in construction. Construction activities often expose soil to erosion, especially in rainy regions like Malaysia. This leads to sediment runoff harming water quality and aquatic ecosystem. Erosion types include rain splash, sheet, rill, and gully erosion, which transport soil into nearby water bodies. To manage this temporary control like silt fences and sediment basins and permanent solutions like retaining walls and geosynthetic matting are used. Success depends on site conditions and proper maintenance. In Malaysia, the Environmental Quality Act and MASMA guide erosion and control through EIA and ESCP requirements. Best practice include limiting land distributes, preserving vegetation, and scheduling work in the dry seasons. Overall, erosion control needs technical planning, environmental care, and legal compliance to protect both infrastructure and nature. Doctor, in this part, I will talk about the key issues and strategies for erosion and sediment control in construction. To highlight key issues in erosion and sediment control, we use a failure table, which is about the factors, ideas, learning issues, action plan was created and summarize the main points from the literature to guide the planning and action. So the first is facts, then ideas, learning issues, and action plans. The facts are construction exposed soil to erosion, especially during heavy rain. The ideas is you have to schedule areas work during dry weather to reduce the erosion risk. The learning issue of this point is how can construction scheduling reduce erosion impact, and the action plan is to plan a site work to avoid monsoon seasons face construction. The other fact is erosion leads to sediment runoff that pollutes river and drainage. The idea is use temporary control like silt, fence, sediment basins, and check dam. The learning issue is what are the most effectively temporary erosion control method. And the action policy, you have to install erosion control structure before starting the clearing, site clearing. The other fact in this part is legal regulations. EQN 1974 must require erosion control planning. So the idea is you have to develop and follow an erosion and sediment control plan ESCP. The learning issue is what are the legal requirements for the erosion control in Malaysia. And the action plan is submit ESCP with the environmental impact assessment for major parts. The other the other fact is vegetarian removal worsens erosion and delays site recovery. If you cut the old trees, it makes worse the soil erosion. So the idea is you have to preserve existing vegetation and apply all soil stabilization. The learning issue is why is vegetation critical in erosion control. The action plan is you have to protect green zones, apply hydroseeding or mulch on exposed soil. The other fact in this literature review of the topic is poor control leads to flooding and infrastructure. You have to install the idea is you have to install a structure like a retaining walls. The learning issue is how does erosion affect the site safety and structural stability. The action plan is you have to design permanent slope protection in high risk areas. That is the field table and research view. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Now, I'm going to explain the type of erosion and sediment hazard. For the first one is rain splash erosion. It's a type of water erosion where the impact of raindrop on bare soil detaches and move soil particles. For the second one, shed erosion, loose or untouched soil is carried downhill in a homogeneous layer without any obvious concentrated flow. So, shed erosion happen. For the third one is rill erosion. It's a rill development, the result of soil particles entrainment over exposed terrain. These rills are shallow channels that can be meters long but are typically below 30 cm deep. For the fourth erosion is gully erosion. Gullies are incised channels which often begin as rills. The head wall of a gully tends to cut back upslope and the side walls retreat through slumping associated with subsurface water, altering the stability of the gully sides. For riverbank erosion, it is under natural circumstances, rivers continuously reshape their channels and erode their banks. For last erosion is tunnel erosion. Tunnel erosion frequently occurs in areas where the texture of the overburden or where the rock and soil change. Water moving readily through constant materials may not be able to infiltrate into on underlying liner layer and this move down slope. For environmental impact of erosion and sediment control on construction sites, there are many reasons that cause the impact. For the first reason is the disruption of the natural balance between soil structure, vegetation cover, and surface water movement. For the second reason is the protective layer that stabilizes soils and absorbs the impact of rain is theoretically lost when vegetation is removed and the earth is disturbed. For the third is the runoff gains erosive energy in the absence of control methods to slow, spread, or filter the flow when vegetation is removed and the earth is disturbed. For the last reasons is the erosion is essentially caused by an imbalance between force that drive and forces that resist. After we know the reason why soil erosion will impact the environment, now let's look at what impact that soil erosion causes. There are three major impacts that soil erosion causes. For the first one, during construction, soil erosion becomes a major issue due to exposed surfaces. This leads to water pollution as sediment-laden runoff carries not only soil but also harmful construction pollutants into nearby water bodies, increase the turbidity of water and affecting aquatic life. For the second one, the removal of topsoil weakens site stability as the remaining subsoil is less suitable for construction. This can cause structural problems such as pavement cracking and foundation sediment. Lastly, the loose soil can clog stormwater drain, reducing water flow and increasing urban flood risk. These issues highlight the importance of proper sediment erosion control during construction projects.
Now I would like to present about a recommendation. To determine the erosion and sediment control measure, it is important to know what are the difference between temporary and permanent erosion and sediment control measure. This table had compared them in various aspects, such as phase, purpose, implementation, duration of effectiveness, cost, and maintenance. The example temporary erosion and sediment control measures studied in this project first is rock check dam, which used to reduce runoff velocity, trap sediment, and minimize downstream erosion. Second is re-rap pad, which used to stabilize slope affected by seepage and to reduce runoff velocity, thereby enhancing infiltration potential and controlling downstream erosion. Third is sentiment basing, which designed to interpret sentiment-laden runoff, allowing suspended particle to settle before water is discharged from the construction site. The example permanent erosion and sediment control measure first is retaining wall, which is a permanent structure hold back soil, reduce erosion and preserve valuable nutrient and sediment within a landscape. Second is concrete lined channel, which provide long-term stabilization and manage stormwater flow, effectively preventing erosion and minimizing sediment transport. Third is map, which is a three-dimensional geomap providing immediate surface protection and long-term slope stability.
So I am going to explain the patch management practice PMP in erosion and sedimentation control. So it is essential during construction to minimize erosion and sedimentation while maintaining environmental quality. So first, by limiting the distribute areas, it reduces the land exposed at any time by clearing only where necessary and preserving natural vegetations to act as the barrier against the erosion. Second, construction scheduling. Construction scheduling is a key role in this practice. Is maintain the soil work should be done during the dry period to avoid erosion from rain. And for examples, in Malaysia, major earthworks should be avoided from November to March during the monsoon season. Next, preservation of natural vegetation help stabilize the soils and slow down the runoff and filter sediment. By freezing off tree and making no disturb zone, this can protect the ecosystem and reduce the need for artificial control method. Next, soil stabilization. This protect exposure soil from being eroded by wind or rain or construction activity. So temporary method include mulching, erosion control blanket, and creek seedings. For long-term use, it can be used chemical stabilizer or vegetation like grass. And next, site inspection and maintenance. It ensures that erosion control measures like slip fins or sediment basins are working properly, and he provide regular check, especially after heavy rain, help identify the issue early. So now I will move to law and guideline. So in Malaysia, effective erosion and sediment control must comply with law and guideline that set by the government. So for first, Environmental Quality Act 1974 is ensure that developer protect the environment during construction. So under Section 334A, major project must submit an environmental impact assessment or EIA to assess the risk like erosion. Without DOE approvals, no construction can begin. Next, discharging polluted runoff into river without treatment is an offence, so punishments by fine up to 500,000 or 5-year jail time. Is whole developer legally accountable for environment impact and promote sustainable development and ecosystem preservation. So it also emphasizes the need for erosion and sedimentation control during the construction work. Meanwhile, Urban Stormwater Management Manual (MASMA), developed by the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, offer technical guidelines on managing stormwater and erosion. It recommends measures like silt fins, sediment basin, and grass seal. It's promoting both structural and non-structural control, and MASMA also encourages developers to prepare erosion and sediment control plan. It's helping reduce full risk and promote water quality. And MASMA second editions promote a sustainable integrated approach and emphasize the design of drainage system that can handle the peakfall while minimizing the erosions. Next, support eco-friendly urban developments, reduce negative effect of land disturbance, and promote sustainable and resilient urban environment.
In this project, we have identified the type of erosion hazard and their environmental impact that are listed in this slide in order to determine appropriate control measure and best management practice. This approach helps to prevent environmental degradation and legal violation, improve site safety, reduce maintenance costs, and support the sustainable long-term site usability.